Sri Muruganar and Sri Sadhu by Michael James. When God incarnates himself on earth in the form of the Sadguru, he does not come alone. He brings with him highly mature souls in answer to whose prayers he gives his true teachings to the world, and through whom he afterwards expounds and makes clear those teachings, using their mind, speech, and body as his pure instruments to instruct the world, both through words and example. Though such devotees come for the benefit of the world, their attention is never turned towards the world, but is ever turned towards God, who shines outside as the Sadguru and within as their own self. Among such rare, exemplary, and pure devotees whom Bhagavan Ramana, the Loka Mahaguru, brought with him to the world, the foremost are Sri Muruganar and Sri Sadhu. Those devotees who have had the good fortune of associating closely with Muruganar and Sadhu, or who have carefully gone through their writings, will have been left in no doubt that they are both instruments specially chosen by Bhagavan for revealing, expounding, and exemplifying his teachings for the benefit of the world. Because both Muruganar and Sadhu had surrendered themselves completely to Bhagavan, thereby merging themselves in him, they truly retain no individuality of their own, and thus they are not other than Bhagavan himself. Hence, it is indeed Bhagavan himself who acts through them, eliciting, recording, and expounding his own teachings. Knowing this truth, Sri Natarajan, one of the foremost devotees of Bhagavan, has sung in one of his prefatory verses to Guru Vachaka Govai. Wise people who see the wondrous beauty both of these verses recording Lord Ramana's sayings and this prose rendering of them, will surely declare that it is that Lord himself who, as the renunciant and skillful Muruganar, has composed these verses, and who, as Sadhu, has rendered them into prose. Thus, because of their egolessness, their complete loss of individuality, Muruganar and Sadhu both became pure channels through which the Sadguru's grace can flow. While it was the part of Muruganar to elicit from Bhagavan such works as Alma Vidai, Upadesha Undiyar, and Aladu Napadu, and to record his oral teachings in a pure and undiluted form in the work Guru Vachaka Govai, it was the part of Sadhu to expound and make clear the true import of those works in his simple, clear, and lucid Tamil commentaries. And while it was the part of Muruganar to reveal to the world in works such as Sri Ramana Jnana Bodham the nature of the supreme experience which he had attained through the grace of Bhagavan, it was the part of Sadhu to show the world in works such as Sri Ramana Sahasram, Sri Ramana Guru Varu Antadi, and Sri Ramana Varuhai, how to pray for such grace. Thus, it can be seen that the roles of Muruganar and Sadhu were complementary, and that between them they have given to the world a vast and invaluable treasure of works that cover the whole range of true spirituality, and that will answer all the needs of the aspirants who come after them. Moreover, through the humble and self-effacing way of life lived by Muruganar and Sadhu, Bhagavan has exemplified how a true devotee should live his life in this world, unattached to the world, unknown to the world, and uncaring for the appreciation and praise of the world, in the world, but not of the world. Thus, it is not only through their written works, but also through their exemplary way of living, that Muruganar and Sadhu have taught us less mature devotees how to follow the path of Sri Ramana. The intimate, spiritual and literary friendship which existed between Muruganar and Sadhu was forged by Bhagavan himself on the very first day in 1946 that Sadhu came to him. On that day, Sadhu sang before Bhagavan the song Kui Lodu Kural, which had spontaneously surged forth from his heart a few days earlier, and in which all his feelings of intense longing to see Bhagavan were expressed in a most heart-melting manner. After hearing that song, Bhagavan read through it carefully and asked Sadhu to show it to Muruganar. Thus started the deep and intimate friendship between these two great poet-saints, which in course of time proved most fruitful. Through his association with Muruganar, Sadhu was able to learn many subtle points about classical Tamil grammar and prosody, to gain a deep insight into the terse and cryptic style of Tamil used by Bhagavan and Muruganar in their works, and also to perfect his own innate but untrained poetic genius. In return, Sadhu did singular service to Muruganar in helping him to finalize his verses and to preserve them for posterity. As Muruganar used to say, 1 for tapas, 2 for Tamil, because such refined literary work can be done perfectly only when two equally accomplished poets assist each other. Because of his tireless and willing labor, his thorough knowledge of Muruganar's style and subject, his own literary skill and profound practical understanding of Bhagavan's teachings, Sadhu alone could render real assistance to Muruganar in all his literary work. Knowing this, Muruganar once said during his last days, "If Sadhu is not entrusted with full responsibility for preserving and editing all my unpublished verses, then it will be better to bundle all of them together and offer them into the Deepam, on top of Arunachala, or immerse them in the Bay of Bengal." Perhaps the greatest fruit of the deep friendship and close literary association between these two great poet-saints is a massive work, Sri Ramana Jnana Bodham, consisting of about 17,000 verses, composed by Muruganar during the last 20 years of his bodily lifetime. Over the many years of their close association, Sadhu dedicated himself wholeheartedly to the task of fair copying, cataloguing, classifying and editing these verses, and he did much to convince other devotees of the great spiritual value of this vast collection of verses, and to enkindle in the mind of Professor K. Swaminathan a firm determination to arrange somehow or other to have them all printed in their entirety. The result of his efforts is that now volumes of Sri Ramana Jnana Bodham have been published by Sri Ramana Kendra, New Delhi. If it were not for the dedicated efforts made by Sadhu, it is doubtful how much if any at all, of this priceless collection of Muruganar's poetic outpourings would have survived to be enjoyed by future generations of Bhagavan's devotees. The great love and high regard which Sadhu had for Muruganar can clearly be seen in all his Tamil prose writings about him, selections from which have been compiled, translated, and included in this book under the title Muruganar, the right hand of Sri Bhagavan. But perhaps his love can be found expressed most poignantly in two verses which surged in his heart during the night after Muruganar left his physical body. In the first verse, addressing the contemporary world, which had failed to understand the greatness of Muruganar, he sang, "The cuckoo, who sang in your midst for 83 years with a sweet voice of cultured, spiritual, ancient Tamil has gone, flying off into the great space of Sri Ramana, the exalted treasure of austerity with which the world has been blessed. What will you do now?" In the second verse, addressing and consoling those Ramana devotees who had true love for Muruganar, he sang, "Does Muruganar mean the 4-cubit body? O you who have love for Muruganar, who is Muruganar? Know that Muruganar is only the eye of self-knowledge given by Annamalai Ramana, the ancient Shiva." Many great qualities of Muruganar and Sadhu can be pointed out to show the way in which they both exemplified in their lives how a true disciple of Bhagavan should live in this world. But perhaps the most important such quality is the fact that, in spite of their supreme spiritual attainment, they both steadfastly refused to assume or accept outwardly the role of guru, and they both insisted to whomsoever came to them that Bhagavan alone is worthy to be accepted as guru by his devotees, and that no intermediary is necessary between him and us. Sadhu quotes Muruganar as once expressing his own experience, saying, "Devotees need not worry. Bhagavan, who is the ocean of nectar, which is the fullness of grace, himself has direct contact with each of his devotees in the heart, without the need of anyone to mediate or intercede in the middle." Sri Ramana Jnana Bodham, Volume 3, page X11. As Sadhu used to say, Bhagavan is the bright sun of knowledge who is always and everywhere shedding the clear light of his grace upon all. So if we rise between him and his devotees with the feeling, "I can help and guide others," we will only be obstructing the free flow of his light and casting a shadow upon those whom we seek to guide. And hence, the best help we can do for others is not to rise as a separate individual, but only to subside in the heart, thereby merging and losing ourselves in his light. The lives of Muruganar and Sadhu truly exemplified, in the most perfect and refined manner, the truth taught by Bhagavan in verse 269 of Guru Vachaka Kovai. Know decidedly that the proper guruship is only the exalted true discipleship, the steadfastness of self-experience, which is the fountain of supreme devotion that springs forth due to the extinction of the ego, I, in the light of the state of silence, which is the Absolute. Therefore, We should understand from the example set by Muruganar and Sadhu that no true disciple of Bhagavan will ever agree to allow any devotee to take himself as guru, and that the greatest help we can do to guide others is to efface ourselves totally, outwardly living as simple, humble, and unassuming devotees of our Supreme Sadguru, Bhagavan. Because they had both totally emptied themselves of all traces of I and mine, Muruganar and Sadhu were able to receive the grace of Bhagavan in fullest measure, and thus they had attained firm abidance in the state of self-knowledge. However, what distinguishes these two great liberated sages from among the other devotees of Bhagavan, and what makes them especially important to us, is not merely the fact that they had attained self-knowledge, for countless must be the devotees who have attained self-knowledge by the grace of Bhagavan, as Muruganar sings in one verse of Sri Ramana Anubhuti. Because the ever-unborn self has taken birth in the form of Bhagavan, many of the ever-undying's egos have died. However, most of those who have thus attained self-knowledge by Bhagavan's grace will ever remain unknown to the world. Therefore, what makes Muruganar and Sadhu especially important to us, the devotees of Bhagavan, and what makes us revere them so highly, is not only the fact that they attained self-knowledge, but is also the fact that we can derive immense benefit from their self-knowledge. Because they have both been selected by Bhagavan to act as pure instruments of his grace, he has utilized the egoless mind, speech, and body of each of them in a special and unique way in order to bestow upon the world of spiritual aspirants a rich treasure house of spiritual writings, which provide us with clear guidance, encouragement, consolation, and help in an infinite variety of ways to enable us to follow the twin paths of self-investigation and self-surrender with greater ease, earnestness, devotion, clarity, steadiness, and sure-footedness. The rich legacy of spiritual writings left behind by Muruganar and Sadhu has each a very distinctive flavor of its own, both in content and in style. But when we read the writings of both of them, we find that each complements the other. Though perhaps nowadays there are only a few among the devotees of Bhagavan who have gone deeply into their writings, most of which are in the form of beautiful and powerfully expressive Tamil poetry. In due course, these writings will come to be treasured by all true devotees as an invaluable part of the great spiritual heritage that Bhagavan has bestowed upon the world. The writings of both of them are so rich in content, so deep in meaning and devotional feeling, and so powerful in expression, that a time will come when both Muruganar and Sadhu will be widely recognized as being among the foremost sages of the world, worthy of a reverence no less than other great Tamil poet saints, such as Manakavachakar, Tiru Jnanasambandar, Appar Swamigal, Sundaramurti Nayanar, Arunagiri Nathar, and Tayu Manavar. However, because of our closeness to them in time, it is difficult for our present generation to appreciate fully the immense spiritual stature of these two self-effacing devotees, and the real worth of their rich poetic outpourings, just as it is difficult for a person standing close to the foot of a huge mountain to appreciate the real height and size of that mountain. Only future generations of Ramana devotees, seeing from a distance in time, will be able to appreciate fully what a great boon Bhagavan has bestowed upon the world in the form of this rich legacy of spiritual writings left by Muruganar and Sadhu.